Good morning, everyone. Welcome back into the AM show. Now, our next guest has lived not one, but several extraordinary lives. Dewell Narvaez is a retired first sergeant in the U.S. Army, a former Marine, a decorated law enforcement investigator, and a lifelong public servant with over 3 decades in the New York State University Police. But that's only half the story. He's also the director and the founder of Orquesta Narvaez, which is a legendary Latin band that helped define New York's salsa sound in the 1970s, and returned in 2013 with an album hailed by Rolling Stone and the LA Times. So from commanding troops to commanding stages, Dewell Narvaez is a true force of nature. So without further ado, welcome to the show.
Wow, that's impressive. Now that I listen to it.
Yeah, who's that guy? That guy's you, right?
Oh, man.
That's you.
Thank you, Nadine and Z, for having me.
Yeah.
It's an honor to be here with you.
Yeah.
Especially being a native New Yorker, you know. In Brooklyn, I grew up in Bushwick, Brooklyn, and but yeah, thanks for having me.
We're so happy to have you here, and I mean, there is just so much to chat about. You have such a wonderful history, what you're doing, and still we'll talk about what's to come in the future. But I just wanted to kick things off by talking about, because you were both in the Marines and a sergeant first class in the Army. Yeah. So how did you get into the military? Was that always something you wanted to do, or what was your journey that led you there?
You know, the military service is a thing in my family, you know. My father served in the U.S. Army during World War II. He was a first sergeant. And uncles, I have 2 uncles that served in Vietnam, 2 that served in Korea. And so it's a family, the Narvaez family. So it's something that I just felt I needed to do. And I did it, and to ruffle the feathers a little bit with my family, I'm the first one to join the Marine Corps, because they were all Army. You know?
Okay.
So that, you know, my father said, "Are you sure you?" I said, "Yeah, Dad. I'm gonna do this just for spite."
So you were happy when Navy won this past year, right? The football game,
because
Navy
Marine
beat
Corps,
Army.
Department of the Navy, right? Yeah. But that said, to be clear, I did 6 years in the Marine Corps Reserves, actually here in Brooklyn, at the 6th Communications Battalion back in the day. Got out, got my bachelor's at Brooklyn College in music. I majored in music, and went into law enforcement, and then I re-upped, but this time. I served with the U.S. Army Reserve. I took the audition for the Army Band, and I served with the U.S. Army Band, Reserve Band here in Queens, the 319th Army Band out of Fort Totten, and eventually rose to the rank of First Sergeant. So I had 2. I was a First Sergeant for 2 Army bands, and each band has 40 musicians, and the 319th Army Band in Queens and the 94th Army Band in Connecticut. Okay. So I've just made great use of, you know, what opportunities are there. There's much to do. You know, you have it's a 40-hour work week, but you certainly can pursue other things. And that's what I've been doing all my life, basically, trying to grab as much as I can, because the opportunities are there, and of course you have to work. Nothing is free, but you know, as they say, if you're not growing, you're dying. So growth is. Even today, I can't sleep unless I'm doing something or new. You know, so that's as far as my law enforcement career, I took a job with the New York State University Police back in the day, and I've had 4 separate titles: uniformed officer, lieutenant investigator, and senior investigator. the job was good to me, and certainly now I'm retired,
Yeah, congratulations.
and I'm doing music full time now.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and every decision I've made in my life has been centered around this goal I've always had since a kid to do music. You know, and you know, it's it's a passion. It's in the blood. It's in my family's blood. My grandfather, my uncles, they all play guitar and violin, trombone, and drums, and so I grew up in that environment. So it's a God-given thing too.
Yeah.
Not everyone is blessed with the gift of music,
Yeah.
and I preach that all the time. You know, but we're going to come back to that later.
Yeah. We definitely
We'll
will.
stick with the law enforcement and military career, and you know, so I always preach, and I tell anyone in a whether it's in a military organization, civilian organization, when they ask me, you know, about leadership, I will always tell them the formula that we use in the military, which is also used in the private sector and like that, is this concept of mission first. You know, whether it's your team, you know, whether it's the Super Bowl, the World Series, you have to have a defined mission. In this case, it's you guys are bringing news out into the world, you know, and that's an important mission, and that's what we do: define the mission, and for the troops, I always define the mission for my band.
Yeah.
You know, and next in that pecking order is your people. You know, you always, you know, you got to look out for your people.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if as a first sergeant, if I took 50 soldiers to eat at the chow hall, you know, I made sure that the first one in line was your youngest, lowest ranking, right?
Yeah.
And you know, and then an order of seniority. Then that's how we enter, you know. And of course, I would be the last one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That meant I ate last, but I had to be the first one out to get the. So mission first, your people
Yeah.
second, and once you've met those two, then and only then do you take care of you. You know, so
Yeah.
it's I've learned so much, and and it wasn't all pretty. You know, right?
Yeah, I'm sure.
There's certain lows, but here I am.
Yeah. We're so happy to have you here.
Yeah. You know, I do have a question for you. So I don't know if you do know, but you had mentioned, of course, mission first. We have someone else here who is also mission first, and that is Nadine. You are you are an investigator.
Right.
Nadine is a crime
yes,
investigator.
yes,
Over the
yes.
weekend, she is solving crimes.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
in
yeah,
her
yeah.
spare
We are-
time. And
No,
Great.
we're totally safe. No, I've been joking all week.
So-
There are these murder mystery games you can solve
you're-
crimes, and I solved a crime this weekend. And I was like, I have to tell
Did
you,
you?
maybe
Yeah.
you can let me into the academy or something. Maybe
Oh,
that's
no.
my
Nadine.
next gig.
Oh man. Okay. Well.
I did want to know, like, you know, in terms of that, I know we have we're curious. What does it take? What type of training does it take to become an investigator? You know, how do you
Sure.
get there? Like, if
Yeah.
someone's out there, it's like, you know, hey, I have an interest in this. How do I go from, you know, just
Yeah.
regular guy to becoming an investigator?
Well, number one is the beauty of investigations or detective work. It's one of the only fields in law enforcement where you're allowed to be yourself. You know, that you encourage your detectives. You know, that's why we have so many series, detective series. They're all different characters, and so your individualism is important. You know, because everybody you want to nurture that, and but of course you have to be inquisitive.
Yeah.
And you you know, the training I've gotten certainly important. I've studied with Michael Bodden, who was the New York City medical examiner. I've been to the State Police Academy for major crimes training. I attended the FBI Academy for 3 months.
Wow.
And lived there for 3 months.
What was that like? What was that experience?
Oh, wow, that was fantastic.
Yeah.
I got accepted. It's like a fellowship. The FBI National Academy is akin to the West Point for soldiers. If you get selected to go, it's a fellowship. You basically you're honored to be there, and you're representing not only your department, you're representing New York State. It was fantastic. Crime analysis, fingerprinting, just PT, physical fitness, swimming, water survival. The list is just, they compress, seems like a year's worth of training into 3 months. You know? So you're constantly, but at the end of the day, you know, training is just that. Now, you have to bring something to the table in terms of, and investigations, you know, you can theorize all you want, and you can have there's a gut feeling that you know who your suspect might be. But at the end of the day, it's like training day, and where Denzel says, if you can't prove it, it didn't happen. Yeah. Or to paraphrase, you know. And but it's, with any public service job, you know, law enforcement, the way you sustain your career, you hang in there, is that victim. You know, every morning you come in and you read a report, and there's always one report or two that will you just feel for this person. And so you have to have that compassion to want to help someone. And there's no greater feeling than, hey, Nadine, guess what? You know, we got your guy.
You cracked the case.
We got your guy.
Wow.
So you don't have to worry. Sorry for so there's a lot of things that you do want to study, you know, victimology, like that. And but it's a rewarding field. So we'll see what we can do.
Thank you. Yes, this is my audition. That's why we had you on the show, actually. No, see, it's cracking me up. But have you had those moments, though, in an investigation where you're like, hang on, this has been so cold for me for so long, I'm not going to be able to crack it, and then all of a sudden, like, there's that aha moment?
Yeah.
Has that happened to you multiple times?
Yeah, well, there was the infamous elevator case in Brooklyn where a woman at a hospital here visiting, she entered, you know, she got her visitor's pass, and then entered an elevator that was exposed but being worked on.
Oh, wow.
And as soon as she took one step forward, a mechanic working on the elevator, you know, using the elevator CPU, told the elevator that the doors were closed where they weren't. And she, of course, didn't know this. And the elevator took her with one leg, you know, in the shaft, 8 flights up.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
But anyway, that took close to 4 years to crack.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crack what happened? Wow.
To get the evidence.
To get the evidence.
Yeah, because when I saw one of my investigators pulled the video footage, there was nothing. But there was one individual that, just by body language, looked very suspicious, you know. So wait a minute, that's a person of interest.
Yeah.
Right? Not a suspect yet. And so we identified and that was the mechanic called on that day. It was a Christmas day. Yeah.
Wow.
And identified him, but we didn't have the evidence. And but kept pushing, and basically, in a interview with him, I got him to admit he didn't know it. You know, of course, you don't share, information that you might have with anyone until the case is solved, including the media. You know, there are things that you hold near and dear.
Yeah.
But anyway, we presented the evidence to the DA. At the time, it was Charles Hines, and he agreed, and it was on from there. We got our arrest warrant.
Wow.
And we went and picked him up early one morning, and it's in the you can still find it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But very rewarding case.
Sure.
And we had, I think it was a crew from one of the CBS 48 Hours. They were following us around, and they were going to shoot a portion of the program. They did a series on it at a church in Brooklyn with the victim now in a wheelchair, me meeting her for the first time.
Wow.
And I just said, we can't film this. It's too sacred.
Yeah.
And when I finally met her after 4 years, we both broke down inside that church. It was very satisfying.
Why didn't you meet with her prior? Do you think that would have gotten in the way?
You know,
or?
I did meet her one time at I think it was an inquiry. It was official, the attorneys present, and it wasn't the time for that. It was business.
Gotcha. Okay.
But
yeah.
but very rewarding. Any public service jobs. They're just people. You're helping people. EMS, fire department, military, anything.
Yeah.
Civil service. It's rewarding.
Yeah. And speaking of rewarding, you have received multiple awards and recognitions. I mean, including the SUNY Chancellor's Award for Excellence. Yeah. So, what does it mean to be acknowledged for your contributions to what you've done in society?
It's what keeps you going. And it tells you that maybe I am on the right track.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I am doing the right thing. You're being validated. Conversely, you're always looking to acknowledge your people, when they do the right thing. So I always also made sure that I passed that down. I'm thinking if someone else is watching, which, by the way, another nugget here is people are always watching.
Yeah.
And troops are always watching. Everyone you work that's working for you, they're always watching. And so I make sure that made sure whether it was my investigative team or in the military that if an acknowledgement was due, that they got it. They received an Army Achievement Medal or a Meritorious Medal in law enforcement. So you got to spread. It's not just about us. So, but that's what it does. It validates your journey, and when you're not getting awards, you got to say, maybe I'm not.
What's going on?
I'll make a call.
Yeah. Getting those awards and that just shows those affirmations that, hey, we recognize you, we see you. I mean, those are just such like breadcrumbs that give you that extra boost of energy. Exactly what you're saying. They let you know, hey, you know what, I'm on the right path and I'm heading in the right direction. And it's just something that brings also about, I feel like, that camaraderie.
That's
right?
correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. And you have to I remember there was a young soldier when I reported to a unit in Connecticut, and they were getting ready to discharge this kid. So I told the commander, I said, I'm new here. Let me give him, let me speak to him. And I looked at his personnel file, and I'm thinking, wow, this kid, perfect scores on everything. But he had scored, he had failed a drug test. And so I'm thinking, what's up with this kid? There's something going on.
Yeah.
And what it was, after speaking with him, it turns out he was all of 19 with 2 kids and a mortgage and this, that, and the other. And he was had some issues at home. So I worked with him, try to help him resolve his, and sometimes just speaking to them, just, so we didn't discharge him and I told him on one condition that, we'll need to test you, at any time, and I said, sure, Top. And 3 months, 4 months later, we announced the Army's Best Warrior competition, demanding in the reserves. And he tells me, hey, Top, I want to compete.
Oh, wow.
And I said, you really want to compete? Because I've done it, and I did win it one time. It was a lot of work. And so I told him, sure, we'll go on weekends. We can go hiking because there's a lot of, rucksack. You're gonna march for miles, and got him trained up. Went to the competition, and he did so great. Oh. And when they announced the winner, it was him.
Wow.
So a year later, this kid that was just about to be discharged from the military, a year later, he's a best warrior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Redemption.
you have to use everything that is given to us, for the better good. It's not about me.
Yeah.
It's about the greater good. And soon thereafter, his dad was dying of cancer.
Oh.
And his dad called me, and because we were going to promote the kid, he says, I want to be there when you promote my son. And I said, sure. So there's a picture of me, his father, terminal cancer, and the soldier. We're pinning him, promoting him. And a few months later, but, there's certain things we don't know.
Yeah.
Right, as we go through this journey, that later on in life, it'll all make sense.
Totally, yeah.
There's a reason, and we may not like what we're going through, and we may question, ourselves and everyone, but there is a reason. I've learned that.
There's definitely a reason, and I think it's just listening, understanding, and taking the time. And because you decided to do all of those things,
right,
you may have saved his life even. If he was continuing to spiral maybe down a bad path, you don't know what could have happened.
That's
and
right.
to completely turn his life around, I think is so impressive. It shows your leadership skills. And no wonder I have so many awards to list off here that you have received.
Yeah.
It definitely makes sense. So, wow, just bravo for all of that.
Thank
I just
you,
wanted to
Nadine.
thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
your
Zee.
service.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for your service as well,
Sure.
everything that you have done. I mean, guys, we told you that he has a story to tell. He definitely
You don't
does.
know the half of it.
Yeah, well, we just spoke
Exactly.
about part of it, maybe not all of it, but a little part of it. And then, yes, we are now going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to dive all into the music aspect of your life, how you've merged music with the military, and also what you've done on the side. So we're going to dive all into that. You're not going to miss it. We'll be right back.
All right, welcome back to the AM show. We are here with none other than Dewell Narvaez, and he is a man of many, many talents. He has a rich history starting from law enforcement, trailing all the way into what we're going to dive into now, some of his creative endeavors. He is a musician, but not just any musician. This man has been all over the world playing, and we're going to dive into it right now. So welcome back to the show, and we're going to dive in.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, we've been calling you Dewell, but you also go by Duke in the music world,
Yes.
right? Can you tell us about that?
Duke, yes, because I come from a family of musicians, uncles and this, that, and the other. And so I've been playing guitar since I was 9.
Wow.
And, but when I got to Brooklyn, to Bushwick, this old musician, he says, "Your name is Do what?" I said, "Dewell." He says, "No, that's too difficult for us. That's not, He says, "You're now bestowed upon you the name Duke."
Duke, baby.
And so since then, that's in the music, musicians circle. They don't know me as Dewell. They know me as Duke. So it stuck. I kept it.
I have a question about that, actually.
Yeah.
So do you ever come into situations where people they know you as Dewell, and then someone else they'll know you as Duke, and then they'll be like, and someone will be like, Duke, and then someone who knows you as Dewell will be like, wait a second,
Yes,
what's
all
going
the
on?
time.
Yeah.
All the time. And then I have to explain myself, just like I did. Say, no, you don't understand.
Right.
Yeah.
So-
Right.
Yeah, and
That's awesome.
and you play a variety of instruments. So you play the
Yeah.
guitar. We'll get into that in a second. You also play the trombone.
Yes.
So what led you to those specific instruments?
Well, so I started out playing like a lot of kids in the U.S., the Fender Strats and the wah-wah pedals and the big amps. But culturally, well, let me just backtrack a little bit. Kudos to Mr. Booth at Halsey Junior High School, 296 in Brooklyn, who, when I reported to the music class, 7th grade, he looked at me and says, we don't do guitar here. We do wind and other stringed instruments, viola, He, in one semester, he allowed me to try every instrument in the band.
Wow.
So he would allow me to sign out the flute. I'd bring it back a few days later. I said, "Mr. Booth, I don't like it." He says, "No problem, young man. I signed out the alto, tenor, baritone saxophones. I'd bring them back, and he's kind of getting a little frustrated with me. But I went through the whole complement of orchestral instruments, And then, of course, when I found the trombone, and at the time, the trombone now was starting to become very popular in the salsa circles.
Got it. Yeah.
With musicians like Willie Colon and a slew of other salsa trombonists. And so it was something that I could identify with, not so much musically, yes, but culturally as well, because now I can put the Jimi Hendrix act on hold and pursue something that was uniquely and culturally mine. I was, born in the South Bronx, raised in Brooklyn. I tell people I'm Bronx born, Brooklyn bred.
I like that. Okay, I like that. I like that.
and so from Puerto Rican parents, and so the trombone and the timing of it, it's they say that the trombone is the instrument most closest to the human voice.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So if you can sing, it's a good choice. Yeah. Wow. And I've been with it ever since. As you know, when I auditioned for the Army Band. If you go, for example, into the military as an infantry person, for example, in the Marine Corps, that's your MOS is 0311, your infantry.
Okay.
when I got into the Army band as a musician, my MOS was I tell people I was a 9 Echo, you know, or 42 Romeo trombone player. That was my job in the Army band. So
Wow.
I got to really take advantage, aside from the 4 years at Brooklyn College, the music conservatory there.
Sure.
I've also gotten good training in the Army band program. You know, they have a school of music in Norfolk, Virginia. You know, and I'd go for every course I can take, and
Yeah.
a lot of times the cadre would say, "Wait a minute, you again? You just finished this other course 2 weeks ago.
You were a regular.
What up?"
You have that music bug in you.
Yes, well,
Yeah.
here I am. You're stuck with me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've had a lot of good influences, musical. I have mentors that have given me encouragement. You know, I met Tito Puente once, and he gave me some words of wisdom.
Wow.
As did Willie Colon. I met George Clinton one time also.
Wow.
I
What
was
was
a
that
big
like?
Parliament Funkadelic fan, and I was a groupie in essence, and I have a nice photo of him
Yeah.
and me, and spoke briefly, but you know, keep going, man, and
Yeah.
and so it's those mentors that keep you going, and
I can imagine Tito Puente and P Funk. I mean, these are just legends.
These are legends,
you know?
man.
Yeah.
And
You mentioned before, kind of like, you know, when you have breadcrumbs of encouragement. I mean, I can imagine you meet these guys, and it's just like, you know what? Think I'm on the right track right now.
yeah, absolutely, and you get good advice. Well, at 18, we had a band from Bushwick of kids, basically ages starting at 13, 14, and the band got signed to a record deal at 18. So that's how I first come into the music business as a young recording artist, and we did one album. And this is 1975, and no sooner than we signed, the record label is sold. So we become this one album, you know, band or artist. And
And you're talking about Orquesta Narvaez.
Orquesta Narvaez.
Okay, all
Yes.
right.
With me with the afro.
Yeah, we actually have some of those images. We can put
Yeah.
them up on the screen here. Okay.
And so we got signed, but it was a short-lived experience, but very grateful. And life goes on. But years later, in the late 90s, that catalog for that label, which had been sold many times over, this is the age of the CD, when the CD was popular.
Yeah.
So they decided to remaster the entire catalog, and our album was part of that catalog. And so they reissued the album that was initially recorded in the 70s. They reissued it in CD form late 90s, and it went to South America, and people thought it was a new release.
Well, because they hadn't heard it.
Right, and so we have because of that, we have a fan base, and in Colombia and South America. The rumor until this album came out in 2013 was that somehow, you know, the music business, they're always very creative minds. Someone wrote that the band had perished in a plane crash.
What?
Yes.
That's very specific.
Yes. So when this album got released, I started to get hitting me up on Facebook. Are you sure you're Dewell Narvaez?
wow.
Because we had heard you guys all went down on a.
Oh my gosh.
I said, no, I'm here. I'm absolutely sure.
It is
Oh my
odd.
gosh.
And so when I go down to Colombia, you know, first time, some guy, some fans in the lobby says, well, you know, you look awfully young. So, look, that's because I hit the gym a lot, you know, and I work out. And I says, I tell you what, so I pulled out my driver's license. I says, how does that do well? It's a unique name, my friend. And, but it wasn't until the downbeat at the concert where people had been listening to this band, had never seen the band, because the band was basically, the members had gone different ways. So I had to resurrect the 70s sound in the 2000s.
Wow.
And that was a challenge, but so we rehearsed about 4 months before heading down. It's amazing what, no one lost a beat, so to speak. All the guys were still intact.
Yeah.
And so when a downbeat came that night, it was a moment. It was there were people crying, and they knew then, therefore, that I was the real Dewell Narvaez, because we have, and we should have, musicians, you should strive to have your own sound, your own style, your own signature sound, so that when people hear you, they can say, oh, that's Nadine. Oh, that's Z.
Yeah.
That's what we should strive to, should be the goal, not to sound like someone else, or, it really should be a quest to find,
Yeah, and you guys definitely found that. You guys definitely found that sound, and like we said, back in 2013, Rolling Stone called it one of the best Latin albums of the decade. I mean, that is just massive.
Amazing.
And just for anybody who may not have heard the unique sound just yet, we do have a clip of you guys playing live, so let's check it out. Wow, that was fun. All right, so you're explaining a little history of that.
Oh, yeah. The back in the day here, during the heyday of the Palladium and Tito Puente and Tito Rodriguez and all the Latin Machito, that was a cultural, there was a melding of cultures. You had Italians, Irish, Puerto Ricans, Jewish, etc. They were all converging because the mambo craze was a big thing back in the day, and so that sound for Orquesta Narvaez is uniquely, it's a New York sound. We didn't know that then, but now you won't find it anywhere else.
Yeah.
Certainly there are different other styles of salsa, that come from other geographical areas on the planet. Colombia has their own sound, so as does Puerto Rico. It's akin to the Chicago blues versus the Texas blues, geographically, but our sound tends to reflect the city.
Yeah.
Aggressive, assertive,
Yeah.
rhythmic.
Yeah.
When
you guys were just playing, I just got this imagery. Like, I just felt like, block party, the hydrant is just open.
Exactly.
You got the Mr. Softy kind of truck is coming. There's some guys playing dominoes over here.
Yeah.
It's just very much.
Oh
very
man,
much
that's
New
so
York.
it's definitely
I got that imagery.
Yeah, it's like Spike Lee, Do the Right Thing.
Yeah,
the movie.
yeah.
Exactly,
yeah.
because that's how we started. Block parties. We would play. We would pay anyone that would have us, actually, if we could. But we just wanted to play, and we paid our dues very young. I mean, there was incidents where I think there was some kind of, we were playing, and there was some at a center, and it was an explosion. One of my drummer, he jogged my memory. He says, "Duke, you remember we were playing, and it's like this bomb went off, or this explosive, or there was a shootout or something right outside, but it came into the." And I said, "I absolutely remember that. I remember now because we kept playing." It's like, is everybody okay? Anybody hit?
You're right.
No, we're gonna keep playing.
on.
Yeah,
Rocky.
that's a New York band if I ever heard one.
So we had this attitude, New York attitude.
Yep.
Where at 16 and 17, we just had this. We used to, when we signed the deal, we got signed to a major management here. So we would go open up for the more mature bands, you know, and but we didn't care, man. We would look at them and figure out a way to take them out.
Yeah.
You know, that was just it. You know, the band was, we had a, what you looking at, you know, New York attitude, you know.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it's a New York thing, and I think people in New York is hopefully, you know, people outside the country, you know, it's a uniquely New York.
Oh, yeah.
It's a, like I said, demographics and energy and like that. So, but yeah, so here I am today, still doing it.
Yeah.
I'm going next week. I'm flying to Colombia on Sunday.
Wow, so fun.
Yep, and this time I'm going solo. I'm gonna be I'm the featured soloist for a symphony, and they're combining a salsa band that I helped produce, a young band, in 2018. They're paying homage to this young band, and I'm going to be there as their guest. But I will be performing two numbers. Again, no pressure.
Yeah.
No
It's
pressure.
exciting.
Man.
Right.
Now, are you going to be performing with this amazing guitar? We've been seeing it throughout the whole interview. Let's talk about it. This is called the Tres, right?
Tres, yes.
Tres.
And
Okay.
so the story with the Tres is, so I've played a lot of instruments, and you know, instruments for me, they become like the piano, the guitar, this guy, the cuatro from Puerto Rico. I use them to write because I really like to write. I write all the songs for the.
And you also arrange everything
and
as
arrange
well,
everything,
right?
yeah.
Isn't that wild? Wow.
So I love you know, it just, you play a chord and you know, Z.
Yeah.
It inspires you you know, so this is a tres. It's a cousin of the Cuban tres, which tres meaning three tones, right? Except the Cuban tres has a double set of strings, meaning it is 6 strings. The cousin, this is a Puerto Rican tres from Puerto Rico. It has 3 tones, but they are the strings are tripled. So when you're playing,
I see that.
right?
Okay.
So when you're playing down, pressing down on a string, you're really pressing down on 3. Yeah, and it's not in terms of by any means. It's limited in its octave range, but it serves its purpose. It's rhythmic, and it's melodic.
Yeah.
And also, it's one of the few instruments that I've come across where anyone that knows music, you probably know this, Z, is without using my left hand, if I strum it, it's a C major chord.
Wow.
Most guitars, it doesn't, you have to, but just by strumming it,
Already in C major.
it's a C major chord, first inversion, right?
Wow.
So, but it's I'll play you a little something that's on the new album, and to show you how rhythmic this thing can be, Here we go.
Let's do it. Kind of song. Oh yeah.
It's challenging, and but anything that's not challenging you, it's not challenging you.
Yeah, that's amazing. So what was the name of that song?
Oh, that was Bruja. Yeah.
Bruja Maricua.
Maricua, yeah.
Bruja Maricua off the new album, guys.
Yeah.
And where can everybody go to get music?
You can go
to
to
album.
Orquesta Narvaez.com.
All right.
Yeah. And
there it is.
orchestra is spelled, it's in Spanish.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I did a solo using a tres on Bruja, and talking about mentors, at the studio, I bought my tres just to use as a reference, because I was going to come back and then overdub the solo.
Sure.
But the dress I was using at the time was a student model, student dress, not a professional grade. So we're listening back once we recorded the rhythm, and I turned to, and may he rest in peace, his name is Milton Cardona. He's a percussionist, world-renowned percussionist, played with David Byrne, and just a wise man, a mentor. And we listened to the solo, and I turned to Milton. I said, Milton, I'm going to redo the solo. That's just for reference. And he goes, negro, which is a loving thing, and in Spanish. He says, leave it alone. That's perfect.
Yeah.
You nailed it.
About the feel.
And he said, look, it's not the his comment was, it's not the arrow, it's the Indian.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
He says, so the fact that it's a student model, just so the thing is, I've held clinics when I was so I always I'm going to hold one when I get to Columbia, speak to the kids down there. And I always ask musicians, especially young musicians, in terms of the instrument that they play, whether it's brass, stringed, what's the most important part of the anatomy. And brass guys are going to tell me, the diaphragm and the embouchure and the strings. Obviously, our fingers are important, and trombone players, we need the arms. And that's what I'll do is I'll have them. That says, all true.
Yeah.
All true. However, the most important part of our anatomy when you're playing, when you're an artist, when you're, trying to, push this music out into the world, I'll have them raise their right hand, and I'll tell them, Now put it over your heart.
That's great.
I love
That's
it.
Great.
I
That's
love
so
it.
good.
Yeah, it's all about the heart, and that's
So
definitely
good.
what you
If
have.
you're not playing from here,
Yeah.
you shouldn't be playing, just to get them thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of times, albeit, conservatories, it's all well and good. We all need to learn the basics, and our scales and our circle of fifths.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, sound really transcends emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what you want to do is you want to send that emotion out in that little note. That it's got to.
Yeah.
You should feel exhausted after the end of a performance.
Yeah.
Yeah. You shouldn't feel like you have more. You should be just wiped out.
Leave it all out on
Leave
the
it
table.
all-
Leave it
You
all
have
out.
the
Leave it
passion, the heart.
Absolutely.
And I think that is basically what you have for your entire life. Everything you've done in your life has passion, soul, and heart. And we're so happy you were able to showcase that and share that with everyone. And thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. I hope I wasn't too long-winded.
No, you're not too
great.
long-winded. You
You're
are
great.
But-
perfect. Just wanted to thank you so
Yeah,
much. Yes, guys, there it is up on the screen. Thank you so much for these CDs.
Yeah.
We are going to take a quick commercial break, guys, but we're going to keep that music vibe alive. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more of the show.
Oh, this is amazing.